Welcome back to Monday Night Muscle. I'm your host, along with the voice of professional bodybuilding, Bob Ciccarillo, on season 2.
How about that?
Right here on Digital Muscle. We are joined with the IFBB Pro League Vice President, Mr. Tyler Manion, calling in on Zoom by way of Pittsburgh. What's up, Tyler?
What's up, guys? How are you?
Well, I'd be remiss, Bob, if I didn't start off with a jab at the Steelers. I'm sorry.
Oh,
hey, you guys, at least you guys made it to the playoffs.
I was about to say, yeah, come on, I'm a Raiders fan. Come on.
Hey, listen, none of our teams made it, but my Buffalo Bills actually made it the longest. So,
boom, boom.
I tell you what, look for them next year, bro. Going to the Super Bowl.
I'm staying with the AFC. I'm staying AFC with the Chiefs coming up here in the Super Bowl. Who you got, Tyler?
I got the Chiefs.
All right, there we go. And Bob?
It's hard to not go with the Chiefs. I mean, they're so strong, so dominant. Mahomes is so good. You got to go Chiefs.
See, I like to go to Bob. It's like NFL Today Network with Bob. We're here to talk bodybuilding on this show. And Tyler, you were literally born into the family of bodybuilding with your grandpa being Jim Manion, who founded the NPC back in 1980.
Well, technically 82, I think, but it was actually started before that.
Well, it had to start before that, 1981, which was Lee Haney won the first national championships back in 1982. And Tyler, you were born in what year?
1994.
94, second in the Olympia. Great year, by the way. And you are the son of J.M. Manion, who Bob and I both grew up with in the industry. J.M. taking all those photos for the NPC News. Did you ever make it to the cover of NPC News magazine?
Make it to the cover? I'm on the very first cover of the NPC News,
How old
my brother.
Are you?
I'm as old as you.
Holy crap.
And if I'm not mistaken, aren't you on the second issue?
I believe so. Somewhere is back in the day.
Now, what are the chances, Tyler, that your boys here on 1 and 2? By the way, if you look that up, I can get a good price for you on that first NPC cover, brother.
Well, you grew up in this, so you've seen this from birth, basically, and you rose all the way up to the top. So, and you're overqualified, I might add, because you were watching and judging shows when you were just sitting on your dad's lap at the back of the Nationals and the Olympia. But this year's Olympia, coming off of the Orlando show where we saw Big Ramy, the first Middle Easterner win that title since 1983. There you go. I don't know why. Why do I even have Bob on the show? 1983, Samir Banu won it, Bob. I just want to school you. We were juniors in high school back then.
Yes, we were. Listen, speaking of the Olympia, I'd also be remiss, Tyler, if I didn't ask. Have your arms recovered yet from the Olympia?
No, they're good. They're good. I know you try to drag that out as long as possible.
What did I miss?
Now, here's what you missed.
Oh, the trophy, yeah.
Now Tyler wanted to be a funny guy right before the Olympia, which it's kind of an inside joke, so I won't bore anybody with it, but he wanted to be a funny guy, right? So, of course, Jim, who I talk to every week, he's got to fill me in. And, hey, Tyler said, he says, oh, really? Okay, well, you know what? Why don't you tell Tyler you better get ready for the Olympia? So, push to the Olympia. We're at the night show. Now, of course, Jim's at home watching this on pay-per-view. Tyler's the man, right? He got the scepter handed to him.
He's holding it.
And he's going to be the man holding the Sandow, right? Well, as it turns out, he is the man holding the Sandow for a long time. So I got a picture that I see online that I had to send to Jim. And there's a picture of Ramy up there, but you're in the background. And you've got the Sandow, and it's tilted forwards like it's on his 500 pounds. And I'm dying because I'm like, oh, now you're going to pay, see?
Yeah, you did. That thing was so heavy. I'm like tilting it, like leaning it back, balancing on myself. I was like, I'm going to kill Bob right now.
Yeah, I've seen your dad back in the day. As a matter of fact, it only got heavy in the recent years. It used to be a little small.
Well, it's bronze, okay, yeah. But yes, it has gotten bigger over. It's just a little supersized,
yeah.
But it's solid. I mean, it's bronze. I mean, Tyler will tell you that thing is a lot heavier than you think it is.
Yeah.
But your grandfather was quick to note that you'll never see any pictures of him holding it with anything but one hand.
Yeah, well, I wasn't taking the shot of dropping it or anything my first time holding it, so I was going 2 hands all the way.
Yeah, you did a good job balancing it on your thighs at the same time. But let's get into some bodybuilding, man. How was it like in your rookie season being the vice president, traveling the world? It's your second year, I think, wasn't it?
Second year, yeah, second year.
It slowed down with the COVID, but your passport was full when the world was wide open, and you're traveling around in a different capacity. And how do you see it from these eyes, being the vice president?
So, I mean, this year was, obviously we didn't get any overseas stuff, or I wasn't able to go overseas at all, I should say. We still got some overseas stuff done, but yeah. I mean, it was a crazy, crazy year. Once the Tampa Pro started, really in August, we were rocking and rolling every single weekend with a ton of shows going. The bodybuilding community, obviously, the competitors, they showed out. They packed the shows. Everything was amazing after August. I was really happy, but looking forward, I'm really looking forward to this year. I'm hoping we're able to go back overseas more. We have an amazing, actually, international schedule for coming out of COVID all over the world this year. So the growth is ready to happen. I mean, we're ready to explode and just keep growing and growing, but it's all going to depend on what the restrictions are and how everything is. But, this year proved we're going to find a way to make stuff happen, be it here in the States or over in Europe and South America or over in Asia, Australia as well. So we're going to make things happen no matter what.
Yeah, well, Tyler, it's been pretty cool to see you come up into the NPC and the IFBB, of course. But with your newfound role, excuse me, what's really interesting to see is how you progressed in a business sense into the IFBB. And it's nice to see through fresh eyes. You're not even 30 yet, correct?
Yeah, I'm 26.
26, so.
And Bob would say, I got sneakers older than that.
I do, actually.
I know.
But that said, when you're looking at the world through 26-year-old eyes, you see it a little bit differently than people like us that have been around for a long time. So for anybody in the sport, they have seen a lot of the progressive changes that you've made, anything from rule changes. We've got some that just came out. We can get into that in a minute. But the scoring system, which I know you just implemented in with Andrew, a common friend of both of ours, and that came up quick. I actually introduced you to Andrew. That was just last year. You guys put your stuff together, put an entirely new system together. But talk about progressive. I mean, it's really made for one system worldwide.
Yes, yeah, that's Muscleware system is going to be an amazing addition to everybody, actually, the show promoters as well as the athletes, because you're going to be able to do everything on one site. There should be no more mix up with posing music, no more mix up with numbers, no more mix ups with anything. Shows should be run seamlessly now. It's going to help promoters be able to run their shows much, much more efficiently. Plus, this is a way where, we're gathering all our competitors into one area, and hopefully we can take some of this, the all important data and information to more mainstream sponsors, people outside the supplement and fitness industry to get more involved with us. So it's the future, this is for the future, and I'm very, very excited about this Muscleware system.
Yeah, we're kind of moving into a new territory. Back when your dad was, or your grandfather was running the NPC, it was just men's bodybuilding and women's bodybuilding. And I'm not so sure that the athletes had a very good line of communication with Jim, because we had Ben Weeder with the IFBB. And now you're starting to see a lot of different divisions, and people are, what are some of the changes that you hear from some of the athletes that they might desire that are not right now in place? Are there some things that we can look to that maybe coming in 2021, or things that you might be considering adding in 2022 that are not already in place?
So, I mean, division-wise, we're not adding any new divisions anytime soon. Wellness was the latest one, but that's going to be it for the foreseeable future as of right now. Changes to anything about shows, show format or anything like that. I'm not sure if there's really too much we're looking at for this upcoming year. But I always like to say, listen, whenever anybody has an idea, my line's open. So you get a hold of me and talk to me. Might be a great idea, might be an idea. I'll just say, okay, yeah, we're going to pass on that. But I love to hear new ideas for stuff. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Stuff can happen. It doesn't always have to happen at the end of the year either. So we'll see if anything comes up. But right now, we're just really focused on trying to get this year off the ground and hoping not too many restrictions are on us this year, so we're really, really kind of back to normal.
Yeah.
Well, Tyler, one of the things that has changed this year because of the COVID is the structure of the show. So a lot of these shows have had to be structured that where you can get in and you can get out. There is no, like we used to do the pre-judging and then the night show. Now, Europe has followed this format for quite some time, and you were at one of me and Ian's shows just a couple of years ago where we actually followed that format. But it seems like that might be a way to go for the future. Do you have any restrictions on promoters following that format still, or do you prefer it the other way, or you just don't care?
So mostly, I think if it goes back to normal, we'll most likely go back to prejudging, and prejudging the morning, finals at night. It helps, it helps the promoters, it helps the vendors.
Yeah.
When you're in and out, you're only getting like a section of the audience. Right. Really, they're, because it's not that they can't, it's not that they don't want to stick around. It's, hey, we need to bring that stuff in. Like, I'm sorry, but that's it. You gotta, we need to get you guys out of here. So once it's back to normal, there's really not any restrictions. We're gonna go back to the normal way. But this next year, you're gonna see some shows that have, all prejudging in the morning, all finals at night. Then you're gonna be in some shows where it's a different area where, hey, we gotta do it by classes again. We gotta do it by sections, and it's gonna be you're in and you're out right away. So it's gonna be a little all over the place, I think, this year, but probably towards later in the year and next year will probably be more back to normal.
Well, I got a question for you as an elder statesman. I mean, I know we're the same age, but my mind works a little bit differently and more quicker than yours.
No, you're old is really what you mean. But
so
go ahead.
The Masters, I'm going to represent the Masters here. A lot of them, the North Americas have Masters, and I think there's the Masters National Championship. Some of those athletes don't have anywhere to go. And I've been asked and approached, are there going to be more Masters Pro events? Back in the day, Dexter Jackson won the Masters Olympia. Is there going to be some room for some expansion for the Masters competitors to have a platform in the IFBB Pro League? Yes, there is. So actually, we're trying to encourage promoters to run more Masters divisions when they're running an open division, pro show, or even if they're not running any open divisions at all. We're trying to get more Masters shows included. I'll give a shout out to a couple people I know that are going to run a lot of Masters shows with every division. We'll run the Pro Masters Championships alongside of Masters Nationals this year. Normally it's with North Americans, but we're going to run it with Masters Nationals this year. Okay. That will have every single division and multiple age divisions. So I think it's, I don't want to say it wrong, but I know it's over 35, over 40. I think maybe over 45 and 50 as well for pros. Chris Mins will have the Legions. He's going to run every single Masters category, and I think he's going to run 35, 40, 45, and 50 as well. Shaquille O'Neal is supposed to have an NPC show this year in Atlanta. He was supposed to have it last year. Right. He wants to do a lot of Pro Masters divisions. He's very interested in that. So I think that could be a huge, huge addition to not just NPC and IFBB Pro League in general, but for our Masters Pro competitors. So yeah, that's definitely one of my goals, is to get more of a Masters Pro circuit going on. And then eventually one of these shows maybe will take the form or the shape of it won't be the Olympia, but it will be like the final show for Masters Pro competitors. Right, like a world championship. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think it makes sense in that we've got a lot of people that are turning pro in the Masters divisions.
Absolutely.
And really, without those Pro Masters shows, your career's kind of finished.
That's it.
You're not really going anywhere. We've never had anybody of significance ever come from a Masters division into the Open. Right. I mean, literally, when you're competing against people half your age, it's not easy.
There's not a lot of Dexter Jacksons out there.
No, there's one, and he's retired.
Right.
So I think it's a great idea, Tyler, and I would like to see that encouraged more. Now, it does get a little dicey, just to play devil's advocate, because as a promoter, you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place of, okay, do I offer a Masters show with no prize money, or do I try to get some prize money for that? And then, of course, now you're getting into new sponsors, new vendors, trying to create new money. And in this market, it's not easy to get sponsors as it is. Now,
yeah, but I think if they know it exists, it's a challenge for the promoter. It's also a money-making opportunity for the promoter, too.
Well, what I've seen, though, and Tyler, you can chime in on this, I don't think the Masters competitors are necessarily doing it for a paycheck. I think, much like in the NPC, they're doing it to achieve a goal. Well, they're doing it to compete against those on the same line.
I'm gonna take you the other direction, because I know as a Masters, I achieved pro status. I want an opportunity to cancel out some of my expenses. I don't think you're going to find a Masters competitor that's going to refuse prize money if it's offered. So I'd at least, I'd like to have that opportunity.
But I'm saying is that I don't think that's their primary goal is to compete for money. Well, I think if you have a Masters show and you have no prize money attached to it, I still think you're going to get a good number of people competing because they want to compete.
Well, not if I'm offering prize money at my show. So then the athletes would have to pick and choose. I think if you have a Masters Pro, it would be incumbent above the IFBB Pro League to encourage the reward of prize money, packages, or gifts, or something, so that it separates you from competing for the trophy. Because that's what you do as an amateur.
For sure. That's, you know, as we get this going, hopefully as we get the circuit going, you know, we'll be able to work on that more and more. So hopefully, you know, it can be like open shows. But, you know, as we're building and as we're coming up, there's going to be, of course, there's going to be some shows that are just going to offer, you know, they're just going to offer, hey, come in, win. And, you know, hopefully we can get some sort of even, you know, once I said, like, one of these shows will be like the final show, the World Championships for Masters, or, you know, whatever we decide to name it or whatever we decide to call it. There'll be some sort of qualification system. So it will entice, you know, it will entice them to go into the shows, you know, without there being prize money at first, but hopefully we'll build and work our way up to that as well.
Right on.
Has there been any thought process to bringing back the Masters Olympia? If we're going to increase Masters Pro shows and encourage people to compete, whether it's for prize money or not, wouldn't it make sense to bring back the Masters Olympia?
Well, we got to make sure that we have the support, and you know, the athletes are going to come out and compete. So, you know, when we start to build this up, then we can go in, because we don't want to make a Masters Olympia, and, you know, we want the quality to be there. You know, if it's going to be a Masters Olympia title with that name, we want to make sure the Masters Olympia winner is, you know, it's not just one or two people that are good and competing there. We want every person that's going to end up showing up there, qualifying there, to be, you know, good quality.
Well, Sean, from the old competitors to the young, I've got a great follow-up question for Tyler, and we're going to get to that right in a few minutes, right after these messages.
People always ask how I got here. I was willing to work just a little harder than everyone else. Every damn day. If I can have hundreds of hours back, you know I'm gonna grab them. Spending hours prepping chicken, rice, and vegetables, F that. I rely on perfect nutrition. I rely on trifecta.
All right, we're back, Sean. As I said before the break, I've got a great follow-up question. We talk about the Masters. I think it's been a great addition. What I'd like to really see a return to is something that we came up with and met, and that's the teenage division.
Oh.
Now, that's something that has kind of, I don't know, just kind of gone south over the years, but I don't know, Tyler. I'd like to think that if we brought back a Masters USA, a Teenage USA, a Teenage Nationals, maybe even a Teenage Olympia. I mean, I think that would be kind of cool, but how about enticing the next generation that's coming up?
So the teenage turnout has kind of dropped, you know, not even just the last couple, but over the last, you know, quite a few years. But also as well, it's harder for promoters to have the teenage division and promote teenagers competing because of how can I say this? Because of insurance purposes. There need to be certain requirements, everything like that, to have teenagers back at a show now. So that's kind of why you see the teenage numbers dropping. So I don't know if we can really build that up. It's kind of hard in today's day and age.
Yeah, I mean, there's shows that do offer the opportunity for the teenage athletes to compete. I just don't think that they've been highlighted enough. I think that's incumbent upon the media machine to find those teenagers. Remember back in the day, you had Lose the Wick go out, find these teenagers.
Yeah.
I mean, I was exposed to some great teenagers, like in the form of Eddie Robinson and Franco Santarillo and Shane DeMora back in my age. But that's because they were sought out and then they were highlighted. I think if we can get to a point where we can find those new talents, give them some spotlight, we can track their journeys.
I think they're out there. I just think it'd be cool to have a little bit more incentive. I mean, back in our day when we competed against each other, when you beat me at the 85
of course I beat you. Yes.
Teen Nationals.
You surprised?
Well, see, now, I could have had my revenge. If there was a bigger show to go to,
we could do it. We got the Masters.
I could have beaten him, and then all would have been right in the world.
Yeah, and I could have won the lottery if I only bought a ticket.
He still brings us up every single time.
It's just history, and it's a fact. You missed it, but I'll show you pictures. But anyway,
I see pictures.
Our teenagers, they're out there. They just got to be kind of directed. And I think shows like these, highlighting that new talent up and coming, that'll help our industry as well.
It's an idea.
Yeah. So what else can we expect on the calendar for 2021? Are there any rule changes or new show additions or some eliminations or anything?
So for the U.S., really, the calendar is going to stay the same. Obviously, a lot of regional shows that are earlier in the year will be back this year. Yeah. Tamer actually has a show next month. Well, yeah, next month. It's still January. He's a show in 2 weeks out in California, out in Huntington Beach. I'm correct on that. But, yeah, I mean, NPC shows are starting up. We're going to have them, as early as 2 weeks. March, we'll have even more. So everything will be back up there. Rule changes. We just put out the national qualification rules for this year. Basically, it's just going to be you have to place top 5 at a national qualifier show, or you need to place top 5 in a national show, last year or at the beginning of this year to be nationally qualified if you go into a pro qualifier for United States competitors. Internationally, I'm actually really excited. In Brazil, Tamer has expanded Brazil and built Brazil over the last couple of years since we've been down there.
Yes.
He's hoping for about 20 to 22 regional shows this year in Brazil.
Nice.
With 4 pro qualifiers. And our numbers in Brazil are actually crazy good. Crazy good. Even the regional shows, some regional shows had 300-400 competitors hard in Brazil so far. So really expanding there. But then also the rest of South America, we're really expanding in as well this year. And I'm talking about every single other country outside of Brazil, from Colombia, Ecuador, all the way down to Argentina. We got shows in Bolivia, shows in Peru. So we're going to have 18 shows in the rest of South America this year, 18 regional shows, and 4 more pro qualifiers spread out throughout the year. So I think our South America growth is going to go really, really well this year. I'm really excited about that. Europe's been strong for us already. We can still grow there. But basically it's going to come down to, can the people run the shows that they want to, because we have a great schedule if that happens. So we're going to continue to grow there, and same with Asia.
Well, Tyler, congratulations on this year, and I don't want that to go without notice, because this was a very challenging year with the COVID, and we lost pretty much the first third of the year. Yeah. January, February, March, into April, really.
Well, I think the NBA went through that last year.
Yeah, there was nothing going on.
Yeah.
But you had to move quick with the team, make some changes to how you qualify, and giving the opportunity for athletes to compete. And because of that, we ended up in a COVID year with all the changes that went on, the last minute change, the venue, everything, with more Olympians competing than any other year in the history of the Olympia.
That leads me to this, Ty, real quick. So we had an invite, a special invite, win the Mr. Olympia. Is that still on the table for 2021? Are we going to have an Olympia special invite, and that's going to be reserved for what deadline, if possible?
Well, I guess it all depends on the circumstances. Obviously, Big Ramy had very unique circumstances this year with trying to go and get to the European Pro. We all saw what he brought to the Olympia, so it's no disrespect to anybody that did well at the European Pro, but Big Ramy was going to go there and obviously be in the top 3. We personally saw his positive COVID test that he got stopped with at the airport. So because of all that, I mean, it was only right to hand out that special invite this year. Obviously, look, he took it, he ran with it, he made the most of it. He became Mr. Olympia. So, it's not going to get handed out unless, it's really the fair thing to do for somebody. So we'll see about that, but there's really no random person or nobody's just going to get a special invite for no reason. Yeah. Especially not going forward. So, but this year it was crazy to see him capitalize on that. It was really crazy.
And I got to agree with that. Sean, I've never been a fan of the special invite. Not saying that it wasn't justified this year, and there has been some unique circumstances over the years, but I think that's exactly what it should be reserved for. I don't think that should be something that's just every year there's a special invite for any good reason. I think it's a slap into the face to the people that are competing on the circuit, qualifying. And again, I don't say this in deference to Big Ramy getting one. I think he absolutely should have gotten one. But I think people throw that around a little bit too easily these days, where they think it's just going to be a given every year.
Well, let's give some perspective, because I was competing in the Olympia when you were still trying to make your way out of the NPC. And you know, when they were throwing that card around, mind you, one of the guys that was a benefactor was Gunther Schlierkamp from Germany. I remember competing in Helsinki, Finland, and they allowed one of their guys to come into the Olympia representing an entire country. So I think in certain situations, these journeyman bodybuilders having the opportunity to be there to represent more than themselves. Yeah. I mean, Big Ramy was representing the entire country of Egypt. So we got that market tuning in to look at their guy, and wow, he hit the lottery and won. And Gunther didn't pan out too shabby. He ultimately wound up getting 5th in his Olympia competition, and he beat Ronnie Coleman in the same year.
It wasn't justified. He got that special invite because he was under contract with Weider.
Correct.
He was doing appearances.
Of course,
he was out there. He was busy. Listen, we're all busy. And to correct you, my friend, I was actually competing in the pros at that point and trying to qualify for the Olympia when Gunther was just given a card because he was doing GNC appearances.
But like Big Ramy, hold on.
And it was not looked upon from the athletes as with any type of respect.
Well, no one really thought Gunther was going to be a threat till he beat Ronnie Coleman. And by the way, he wound up in his first Olympia, I believe he was 9th or 12th, and then he wound up getting like 5th place. So he earned the right to be there. He was the benefactor of a free pass. And the guys that have got that free pass, they haven't all fared so well. But I don't know that anybody complained. I don't think anybody complained about Ramy getting it.
You didn't complain because you were already qualified. But somebody like me who was competing on the circuit, busting my ass, and then all of a sudden, you take a third back then, so you just miss it. There was no points back then or any of that.
We're not living in the past, Bob. We're welcome to 2021.
We're absolutely living in the past right now. But Tyler, what do you think about the free pass?
Tyler, how about giving Bob a free pass to the 2021 Olympia?
Listen. I'm not for the free passes. Like Ramy was a special case, like I said. Going forward, there's got to be a really unique situation for someone to get a special invite to the Olympia. So you got to earn your way there. I'm with you on that, Bob. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, but it's not always for the winner. Like, I mean, listen, if we have an opportunity to have a guy from China, for example, which has a huge market, and they're trying to get in, they'd like to see one of their guys on the stage.
I don't think you open up that can, and I'll tell you why. Let me give you the best example we got right now. Kai Green.
Yeah.
Now, people throw this around. We've heard it for the last 5 years. Well, they should give Kai, he needs to be in the Olympia. They should give him a special invite. As great as Kai has done in the past, I would not be in favor of giving him a special invite if he decided to go in the Olympia this year just because. Well, no, you go back out there, go win a show, prove yourself again, and get on the Olympia stage. But just because he'd be a great draw doesn't mean he should get a pass.
Well, Tyler, just to give Bob some education, Kai Green did get a free invitation. He chose not to take it.
No.
Not last year. He did a couple of years ago, not last year.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, but it did happen.
And he's not getting one going forward. So if he ever was
the one and done.
Let me tell you why we extended that, because I was a part of that whole thing. We extended a special invite to Kai Green that year. That was the year following him coming out with the crying video on the fence and all that stuff. That he was
beautiful. I love it.
He was being kept back, that we weren't letting him in the expo, all that stuff, which was false. We extended an invite the following year for one reason and one reason only, to put it in his lap and to let the whole world know we are extending this to him. So if he declines it, that's on him, not us. We're not keeping him off the stage.
But Bob, historically, it was offered, which is what I said. He was offered one. But like Tyler said, it has to be extenuating circumstances. Now, it doesn't have to be given to somebody that can be Mr. Olympia. It could be some unique circumstances,
No, Sean, because look what you said. What if there's a bodybuilder from China? He's the market loves him over there. All this kind of stuff. We have pro shows in Asia. We had a open pro show in South Korea. He can go right there. So how he goes there and he takes 5th place. How can you say to the guy that took 2nd, 3rd, and 4th? You know what? I'm sorry.
Right.
We're gonna let this guy come to the most prestigious show we have, because he's a good draw. But you guys, you did better than him. You beat him. I'm sorry, you're not a big draw.
Didn't we give a special invite to Cedric McMillan?
We did, and that was for special circumstances. As he's on duty, all right, he's serving for the military. He was scheduled to compete for his show.
But there's special circumstances.
And he got called to duty.
Right.
Now, again, you get a guy like Cedric, who's been around for 10, 12 years, established himself as a top Olympian, top competitor, Arnold Classic winner, and due to his military service, I think that is special circumstances. I had no problem with that.
Well, you made my case for me, so we shouldn't abandon the idea that it exists and someone should do it.
No, I think it should exist. And I think it should be there for the taking, but I think it has to be justified.
I want Bob Chick in 2021.
You don't want no part of me.
Big Tyler, man, we appreciate you taking the time to join us here at Monday Night Muscle on Season 2. And, of course, we're going to see you on the circuit doing what you do, man. It's crazy, the generation, Bob. We were talking to his dad all those years and watching his father, grandpa and father do it, and now we're talking to the third generation.
Well, I met your father when I was 15. He's a couple years older. He was like 17, going on 18.
This guy's
when we first started the NPC, and your grandfather was making the rounds, driving state to state, getting chairmen, getting judges, putting people in place. And that's when I met JM. And we were just kids as we were competing together.
But think about it. Now this guy's sitting at home on his computer talking to us virtually. He could have saved his grandfather a lot of miles on his car.
This is huge for you, bro. Right here. This is
You're doing a great job, all right?
Thank you.
From two old cats that have seen this whole thing revolve and evolve to what it is. You're doing a great job. Keep doing what you do. And we look forward to catching with you on the circuit this year.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys at a ton of shows.
All right.
You got it, Tyler.
Manion. Tyler Manion and Bob Chick, man, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Monday Night Muscle.